Today I would like to show you how to make and can your own homemade grape juice. Earlier this week I went to my husband's grandmother's home and harvested grapes from grapevines that she planted in 1960. I'm not certain what variety of grapes these are, but they have an incredible flavor and they are perfect for turning into juice and jelly. I'm fascinated by the ancient relationship between humans and grapes. We have record of grapes being cultivated as early as 7000 BC, so they are truly an ancestral food. Whenever I work with them, I find myself transported back to a time much older. Once you've harvested your grapes, you will need to weigh them to figure out just how much you have. The recipe that I use calls for 21 pounds of grapes to make 6 quarts of grape juice. I ended up with around 32 pounds of grapes, and I made 9 quarts of grape juice. Next, you'll want to wash your grapes in cool water to remove any dirt or insects or debris. Once your grapes are washed, it's time to remove them from the stems. There's not really a fast method that I have found doing this. It is a time-consuming process, so it is best done with a loved one, listening to music or a podcast, or sharing stories. Now it's time to mash the grapes. You can do this with a potato masher or a wooden pounder like I'm using, or you can even use your hands, but you want to mash them pretty well and get the juices flowing. Measure your grape mash and put it into a large stock pot. For each quart, which is 4 cups of grape mash, add a 1/4 cup of purified water. Now bring your stock pot to the stove and bring it to a simmer. You want it to simmer at 190 degrees for 10 minutes. Be careful not to rapidly boil your juice. Next comes the other time-consuming part of this process, which is straining the juice. You'll want to do this in small batches, and I used a jelly bag. You could also use a nut milk bag or even just a fine mesh strainer. Once your juice is strained, pour the hot juice into hot sterilized jars, and you'll want to leave a 1/4 inch of headspace. Place the hot, sterilized lid on the top and then secure the band onto fingertip tight. Now it's time to do the actual canning. With the jar lifter, carefully lift your jars and place them into the water bath canner, making sure that there is enough water in the canner to cover the tops of the jars by 1 inch at least. I use my pressure canner as my water bath canner, and I do that by just removing the overpressure plug and the pressure regulator from the canner cover. Place the lid on your canner and bring the water to a vigorous boil. Process the jars of grape juice for 15 minutes. Once the processing is done, turn off the canner and let the jars cool in the canner for 5 minutes. Then remove and let cool an additional 12 to 24 hours at room temperature before checking the seal. For detailed instructions on how to make and can your own homemade grape juice, visit the blog post linked in the description box below. Subscribe to Verity Folk School for weekly videos on traditional food, traditional handicraft, and traditional skills. Thanks for watching.